With the WWE kind of publicly admitting to hitting a bit of a snag with the developmental talent testing positive, how did that throw a wrench into wrestling life? Did that change how you guys normally do things? I mean, is it kind of evolving the same way the rest of the world is?
Well, it definitely changed our shooting schedule that week. So when we heard about the positive test with an NXT talent, we were supposed to tape on that day, but then I think the day it came out. But the next day, so we actually did tape that day. Then the next day, we found out in that evening. The next day, we had to stop the taping, and we all got tested. We did the nasal swab for coronavirus, which I kind of heard some horror stories, and it's not great. Don't get me wrong, not quite as bad as I thought, but not great either. And so we had all got tested that day, and then if you were negative, then you were allowed to tape again the next day. So it's definitely, caused a shift in the way we do things and tape again. I think there may be some more testing moving forward, which is honestly like what we should be doing, I think.
Yeah, seems safest. And today I saw Kevin Owens came out and spoke a little bit about his decision not to wrestle. And weirdly, the WWE has faced this before the rest of the sporting world. We have Avery Bradley and a bunch of players who've just decided for the health and safety of their family not to join the NBA, or we'll see that in the NFL soon. You guys have faced it with Roman Reigns, Sami Zayn. There's a bunch of superstars who kind of made their own decisions. Is that what you guys are kind of encouraged to do?
I think so. I think it's, you have to consider what your individual case is, the people you're around. I think for those guys with families, I definitely understand completely because, it can devastate your family. And that would like, to do this, to decide to wrestle, to step into a ring, and the fact that it could really negatively affect your family's future is something that I don't think it's worth the risk. For me, like I said, I go home to no one. So I kind of I think there's a certain risk with wrestling that I've accepted anyways for myself. And there's really no fear that I'm going to get anyone else sick, not a family member or anything like that. So I have really minimal contact with anyone else outside of wrestling at all. So it's kind of something that I've been more comfortable going back with, especially now with more testing. But I completely, accept that, there are people who are going to say this is not right for me and my family. And I think it's smart that they decide not to step in a ring.
And you played college football. You found great success in powerlifting, and with all that teamwork that you've been in, and the locker rooms that you've been in, both sports and sports entertainment. Now, can this be contained, or is social distancing the way? Is like I have been open about it on the podcast, being very nervous for athletes going back. You've been back, so are there things going on backstage, getting ready? Are people keeping it in mind?
Man, it's hard because you talk about, like, I played college football at a major university at Iowa, and it's very difficult because you're just used to being around your teammates. And I've talked to like two of my really good friends. We played college ball together. We're like brothers. They're coaches. They're high school coaches, and talking to them about some of the things that they have to do, where they have like groups of 10, and it's really limited. It doesn't feel like that's not the way we're accustomed to running practices and doing things. Same with us. Like we're a business where there's a lot of contact with another human. It's not like tennis or baseball where you can play these sports and still have distance. We're just used to touching each other. And even in the back, like we're encouraged to wear masks and to be socially distant, but it can be difficult. And it's hard to say, after months and months of seeing people that you really like or your close friends and having no physical contact with them, with seemingly no end in sight. This could be probably several more months to go, I would say, at least before we get back to a more normal schedule. So it's definitely something that's encouraged, but I think just naturally it's very difficult for us to continue to maintain distance and to continue to wear masks. And it's something that we need to be cognizant of, but I don't know how you will be able to enforce this in high schools and in the NFL, the NBA, to make sure that guys keep a respectable distance in a sport or in a culture where you're just used to being around people and used to being in close physical contact.
Yeah, I mean, I even have trouble. My mom stopped by the other day to see our kid, and even just like the instinct to want to hug your family isn't something we should be doing, right? I mean, we don't do it. We haven't done it in months, but even 3 months later, I'm seeing myself starting to go for it. I mean, do you guys have kind of those oops moments as well? Like, it just, you've trained in wrestling for so long. How do you just change it out of nowhere?
It's hard. Yeah, it's definitely an adjustment. And I feel like and this isn't the right thing, but I feel like we were definitely a lot of us were more cognizant of it the first month or 2 months in, but then you get to a point where you're at 8 weeks in, 12 weeks in, and you're just kind of starved for physical contact and being close to people you enjoy, and it's difficult, and it's obviously something that's important because it's really wreaking havoc, man. I like my barber of mine. He's my barber, and he's a good friend of mine. Was someone who, not that he didn't believe it, but Jay was someone who was in great shape. He worked out a lot. He's not that old, but he kind of questioned, like, hey, I don't know anyone around me who has it. Do you? And just kind of was more, just kind of weary. But then he was in the hospital, just got out the hospital. He was in the hospital for 8 or 9 days, and it really took a huge toll on him. He just didn't look the same when he FaceTimed me from the hospital, and you could see how much it took a toll on him. And it's scary to see. Like, I was really worried. Like, is he going to make it? I don't know to see that. But it's something that obviously we need to take very seriously. And, I just think we got to listen to the experts.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people with, opinions who have no science, who read stuff on Facebook and think they're qualified to weigh in on what we should and shouldn't be doing.
Yeah.
But I really don't think it's that difficult to put a mask on. I don't think it's worth storming your city halls just to wear a mask. So I have no problem wearing a mask.